Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to use Power BI as our window into the bigger world of business intelligence. We're going to demystify the entire ecosystem, breaking it down into three really simple parts: the people who make it all happen, the process they follow, and of course, the powerful insights they create.
So let's start by looking back a little. The source material reminds us of a time when data was pretty much a solo mission. One person was responsible for all the company reports. But as this quote kind of hints at, those days are long, long gone. Data just isn't a one-person job anymore. It's a total team sport.
So who exactly is on this new data dream team? Come on, let's meet the key stakeholders, the real power players who work together to take raw, messy data and turn it into a story that actually makes sense. First up, we've got two roles that honestly get confused all the time. So think of the business analyst as the translator. They're the ones who interpret what the business needs and then document all the requirements. The data analyst, though, they're the developer. They're the ones getting their hands dirty, working right with the data to clean it, transform it, and ultimately build the reports and visuals.
Next, we've got the data engineer. I love this description: the architect and the plumber of the data world. I mean, before anyone can analyze a single thing, that data has to get from point A to point B. The engineer builds and maintains all those pathways, mastering what they call data wrangling, to tame all that raw, messy data into something clean and usable.
Then you have the data scientist. Now, if the data analyst is focused on what happened, the data scientist is often looking at what will happen. They use heavy-duty stuff like statistics and machine learning to go way deeper, finding those hidden patterns, making predictions, and tackling the really, really tough business questions. And finally, there's the database administrator, or DBA. If the engineer is the architect, the DBA, well, they're the doctor. It's their job to make sure the database itself is healthy, doing well, and totally secure. They're the ones who make sure the system is reliable and all that valuable data is kept safe.
Okay, so we've met our dream team. Now let's get into the how. Let's check out their playbook. We're going to follow the data on its journey, step by step, all the way from its raw, kind of useless state to a polished, valuable insight. The source material lays this out as a really clear 5-stage life cycle. As you can see, it's a journey that flows right from left to right. It kicks off with prepare and model, moves through visualize and analyze, and wraps up with the ongoing job of management.
Everything starts with preparation. And listen, this might be the most tedious stage, but it is absolutely the most critical. You've heard the saying, right? Garbage in, garbage out. The source material nails it. Starting with bad data just leads to bad reporting and wrong analysis. This is where you have to get it right from the very beginning.
All right, once the data's prepped, it's time to model it. This is where you start to bring some structure to all that chaos. You're defining how different sets of data relate to each other, and you're building the business rules and metrics. A really well-designed model is the absolute key to getting accurate, trusted results, especially when you're dealing with just massive amounts of data.
So the data is prepped, it's perfectly modeled, it's clean, it's structured, it's just full of potential. But how do you actually make sense of it all, right? How do you unlock the story that it's trying to tell?
And this quote just brilliantly sets up the next crucial step. You can't just hand somebody a spreadsheet with a million rows and expect them to see the big picture. No way. You've got to make that data come alive. And that's exactly where visualization comes in. This stage is all about storytelling. By turning all that complex data into charts, graphs, and maps, you're empowering people to grasp insights almost instantly. A good visual can explain a complicated business problem way better than pages and pages of numbers ever could.
So the last two stages, analyze and manage, this is where the value is really unlocked and kept going. See, analysis isn't a one-and-done thing. It's this continuous process of exploring the visuals, finding those trends, and predicting what's next. And management, that closes the loop. It's all about sharing those discoveries securely with the right people so they can actually go and do something meaningful.
So, we've met the team, we've seen their process, but what's the actual output of all this hard work? Now let's look at the what. The different kinds of analytical products you can actually create. So what does this whole journey produce?
Well, according to our source material, it all boils down to 5 main types, or flavors, of analytics. Each one answers a different, and I'd say progressively more powerful business question.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the evolution. You start with descriptive analytics, which answers what happened. Then you move to diagnostic to ask, okay, why did that happen? Predictive looks ahead to what might happen. Prescriptive gives you a game plan by answering, all right, what should we do? And finally, cognitive helps the whole system learn from these outcomes. It's a real journey from just having hindsight to having true foresight.
Okay, let's zoom out for just a second and look at the big picture here. Why does this whole ecosystem, this combination of people, processes, and products, why does it matter so much for any modern organization? Well, it all comes down to this. For any data to be useful, it absolutely has to be trusted. And that trust, it's built on 4 pillars. The data has to be accessible to the right people. It has to be presented in a way that's easily consumed. It needs to be understood by the audience, and most importantly, it has to be meaningful for the business problem you're trying to solve. If any one of those pillars are shaky, the whole thing just falls apart.
So in the end, it's not just about having a great tool. It's the synergy, the magic that happens between that expert team we met and the structured journey they follow that creates this powerful data engine. The people and the process, they work together to make sure that engine is running smoothly, day in and day out, delivering insights people can actually trust.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. You've met the data dream team. You've seen their playbook for turning raw information into really powerful insights. So if you had this team and this whole process ready to go, what's the one business problem you'd want them to solve? What's the big question you'd ask them to answer?